What is up, my friend? You are listening to the Anthony John Amyx Podcast. Welcome to episode numero uno, and today we will be talking about what this podcast is all about, why I started, and specifically how you can use this show to take your life and your business to brand new levels of awesomeness. So don't go anywhere. DJ, cue that intro.
Welcome to the Anthony John Amyx Podcast, the one and only podcast designed to help you become unstoppable in life and business. My name is Anthony John Amyx. My friends call me AJ, and my goal with this podcast is to help you remember who you truly are so you can maintain your center in the chaos, embody your potential, and unlock freedom in your life and business. That being said, let's get into today's show.
What is up, man? Welcome to the very first episode of Anthony John Amyx Show. I am Anthony John Amyx, and I'm your host. And for years, a lot of people, they've kept telling me that I should start a podcast, and I never really felt that it was time to do that. And since you're here, you can obviously see that I felt like it was time to do this darn thing. And man, I'm really excited to kick this podcast off with this inaugural introduction episode. And for other people, this is also the episode for those of you who are just now diving into the show here in the future. Like as this show progresses, like you're going to be like, you get what I'm saying. So if that's you, welcome, and thanks for being here. I just really appreciate you sharing some of your time with me, and that's something I don't take lightly because you never really get that time back. So man, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And this episode, I'm going to be sharing a little bit about me, why I started this podcast and why the heck you should even listen to anything that I have to say. And more importantly, why tuning into every single episode of the show is actually a really good idea for you if you're serious about taking your life to a whole new level of freedom, purpose, and success. And I'm going to be sharing some of the most important things as entrepreneurs that we have to become aware of if we really want to move from this place of having a good life to a place of having like a fan-freaking-tastic life in all areas. And unfortunately, I found most experts and gurus and thought leaders, they're really not talking about this stuff in the context of running a business while leading a family. So what in the world am I talking about? Well, it's simple. You see, most entrepreneurs, they seem to be looking at a lot of things externally, meaning out there, outside of themselves to then generate results. I'm talking about the tactics and the tools and the strategies, and those things, they serve them up to a point, but if they truly want a great life, then they have to understand both sides of this game of entrepreneurship, the outer work and the inner work. Otherwise, it could be also stated as the doing and the being. And that's what this podcast is really all about. I really wanted to create a place where I could share some of my insights that I've personally experienced, plus have conversations with some amazing human beings and where other people could actually tune into to learn about consciousness and cash generation strategies and marketing and sales and psychology. I mean, pretty much anything that helps people move the needle when it comes to creating a life and a business that they love. My desire is to provide a space where you can tune into to learn new perspectives, which then allow you to have new thoughts and new feelings predominantly, which then allow you to take new actions, which then help you create a new reality fast. My intention with every single episode of this podcast is to equip you with strategies and philosophies to help you break through to a whole new level of just goodness and amazingness in all aspects of your lives. The thing is I've been doing this online marketing thing for, like a hot minute. Like it's crazy to say, but nearly a decade now. And that's like 25 or probably like 30 years in this game of internet years, right? Can I get an amen on that one? You know what I mean? I've been featured in places like CNN and Business Insider, and I've taught at places like Creative Live. HubSpot has even named me as one of the top 10 business coaches in the world for the past 2 years. And it's kind of crazy to me to say this stuff out loud, like hear it, out loud, because just 10 years ago, I was actually just a musician. I was, playing in front of thousands of people in a Christian rock band that I had helped co-found. It was called Trade Cities. And we had 2 record offers. We had this ginormous big tour bus, and we're living our dreams of really being rock stars. And to be really honest, it really wasn't that glamorous, like if you really saw behind the scenes. Now, there's this part of me that enjoys sharing these stories from my rock and roll days. And I love creating music, and I loved it so much, performing live with four other guys and creating like this energetic experience for the audience. I just loved that feeling when I got on stage and just rocking and melting people's faces off. And I love rushing to the back after we got off stage and selling records and autographing things. But the reality is we were really barely making enough money to really get by. I mean, we just essentially made enough money to buy enough gas to get to the next place, have enough money to buy gear, because when you're out on tour, like things break, guitars, strings, amplifiers, things like that, and just enough money to keep playing and getting our name out there. I mean, we slept on venue floors, we piled into a single, Motel 6 room, and we even slept in a Walmart parking lot once on our tour to Cornerstone Festival, and maybe I'll share that story one day. It's pretty funny. But when that career came crashing down in October of 2009, I was really left trying to figure out, like, man, who the heck am I? I had spent nearly 10 years of my life dedicated to that music game, and my identity at that time was really anchored into is like I was the rock star guy. That's like who I saw myself to be and felt myself to be. But the thing, though, that I loved most about the music game was the marketing game. I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. I would read books on it, as many books as I could, and try the guerrilla marketing stuff for our band. And so when everything came crashing down and we all decided to break up and go our separate ways in October of 2009, I made a decision, and I decided that I wanted to jump into this internet marketing game. And at the time, I remember seeing people like Brendan Burchard, he was launching Experts Academy, and people like Frank Kern, he was like having $1 million days, and those things like really inspired me. And I thought to myself, I was like, man, if those people can do it, I bet I could figure that out too, And so I started watching like what they were doing, and I attempted to reverse engineer like what technology and tools they're using, because I didn't know anything about that whole game. And this is really how I started learning about the technology of this online business game. And then in 2011, Mike Koenig launched a program called Social Media Marketing Machines, and it was really all about creating a social media marketing business. And at the time, I could see the wave coming. I could feel it coming, And this was before everybody and their mother called themselves a social media marketing manager. I mean, this was like breaking news in the business world. I mean, I could see that this industry was about to blow up. And I believe Mike sold that online program for $3,000 then in 2011. And at the time, though, I was still really licking my wounds from my music career crashing and burning to the ground, and I didn't really have $3,000 to my name. Back then, I was like digging ditches for my dad so I'd have enough money to pay my $500 rent in a single one-bedroom house in a little bitty small town on Cedar Creek Lake out in East Texas. But what I did have was a dream. I had this calling, I guess you would say, like this feeling within my bones that I wanted to build a business that allowed me to work from my laptop from anywhere in the world as long as I had a Wi-Fi connection. So I had this dream, and I had some determination, and thankfully, Mike had an installment plan on his program, and it was like 6 payments of like $500, I think. So when I watched his offer videos, there was like everything within me said it was a fuck yes for me. And so I decided that day that I was going to jump all into the game of social media marketing, and that I could figure it out with Mike's guidance inside that program. So I took the $500 I had accumulated and made the first payment. And I decided that I would apply everything I learned from Mike and make the money to pay for the program, or I would die trying. And thankfully, within the first 30 days, it worked out, Within the first 30 days of joining the program, I closed my first client for I think $2,400. And I never really looked back. And I wish I could sit here and tell you that everything has been easy since those days of 2011. But that really hasn't been my journey. I mean, my journey has been full of ups and downs and self-doubt and insecurities and a lot of fear and, choosing a lot of courage. It's been this ongoing dance with life. And people ask me all the time, like, how'd I go from being a rock star to being named as one of the top 10 business coaches in the world? And by the way, I'm going to drop a link to that article in the show notes so you know that I'm not just making this stuff up. And to be 100% clear, because I've had multiple people send me direct messages asking me, like, how did that happen? Like, how did I make that happen? And so let me just be honest. I didn't. I didn't pay for the article. I didn't ask them to write it. I didn't reach out to them, I know some people who've studied this marketing game, they've become really jaded and they believe that maybe it was a pay-to-play thing. And I get it. I get that exists. I get that's a positioning strategy. I'm not even against it. They're all tactics, strategies, many paths up the mountain. But I just want to be clear here and clear the air. I didn't do that. I don't really know how that really happened. I guess the only way it happened is I've been keeping my head down. I've been sharing my message and transforming lives. And as a result, somebody chose to write an article about it, I guess, So if you're one of those jaded people, I get it. It's all good. Just want to clear the air. Boom. We're all on the same page now. And hopefully this podcast will give you an opportunity to actually fill my heart. So that I'm not just, some other dude, looking out there for the praise and admiration to stroke my own ego. Honestly, I don't care about it. I used to. My music days were full about it, and the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey, it was full of that as well. But since then, since diving deep and doing a lot of self-examination and studying and implementing ancient wisdom, plus executing on the online business strategies, it's really all changed for me. I now have a lot more freedom and a lot more real-world results since I learned how to drop the need for external approval and external validation. And we'll talk about more on that on a later episode. But let me get back to the point. How did I make that transition to an entirely different industry? Well, that's why I started this podcast. I wanted to share those answers and to continue to share what I learned. You see, I'm on a mission to help people remember who they truly are so they can create a life and business they love. Because I know from firsthand experience, when we remember who we truly are, which is the soul in control, and we create from that place, creating that next level of success and fulfillment becomes 100% simple and possible. Now, currently, I don't have some inspirational visionary statement like to inspire 1 million people to create a life and business they love. If I did, if I said that's what it is, I would be lying. It wouldn't be true for me. Right now, I can only speak to what I'm called to in this moment, which is to share my message. And those who have ears to hear and eyes to see will hear and see. And so whatever that number is, it will be. So let me break down how I reinvented myself and made a transition to an entirely different industry. So if you're in a place where you want to go to a new level of freedom and success, that you understand how it's possible. See, I took the skill sets I learned from Mike's social media marketing machines. And I grew a contracting business where I was managing the social media accounts for 23 clients. And I was 26 years old at the time. And it was great, yet it was exhausting. I was working 16, 18 hours a day. I didn't understand how to hire other people to help. I just hustled my face off until I burnt out. After all, that's all I knew growing up in a blue-collar family, right? Hustling and working hard, that was a badge of honor that I wore proudly because it got me acceptance from one of the people that I respected most, which was my father. And that belief, it served me up to a point. But then I had to learn how to see that belief was no longer serving me. And I've had to learn how to create new belief systems around money for myself. And then in 2012, I hired my first coach. His name was Garrett J. White. Some of you may know of him or heard of him. And I worked directly with Garrett for 6 months, and it changed my life forever. And Garrett was one of the guys that really helped me to understand this internet marketing game at a deep level. The funnels, the email copy, how to create and execute launch strategies both online and offline. He really helped shift me from doing work to training and coaching other people and what I had learned in the trenches. And that's really what helped open the door for coaching for me. Looking back, I don't really know if I'd call it coaching because it was more of training, but hindsight's 2020. But then after leading people in my group coaching programs and my one-on-one clients, I started seeing I could give all people access to the same tools and the same tactics. And yet some of them would get results, and then some of them wouldn't. And then I started to notice that there were many people who were consumed with self-doubt, even though they were working their ass off to grow their business. And the work that they used to love, it actually had become hard rather than fun. It's kind of no matter how hard they worked, they couldn't really seem to generate more revenue or lead their team and scale their business in a sustainable way. And many of them felt like their business was running them rather than having the time freedom to travel to the cool places and to be present with the people they love, even though that's why they started their business in the first place. And then on the other side of the coin, I noticed that there were other people who would seem to actually gain momentum and break through the 6-figure ceiling or sustainably scale to 7 figures or multiple 7 figures while having the time freedom to do whatever it is that they wanted to do. They even had a marriage that seemed to be thriving, and they were present with their friends and their family while going on fun adventures together. And they really weren't stuck in this place of, being a workaholic. And they had what all entrepreneurs truly wanted: freedom. When I get honest, freedom was the number one reason I really started my business. And, looking back, I don't know how people do it without having freedom, like working a 9 to 5, not having the ability to do what it is they want, not having the ability when life happens to use their resourcefulness to create solutions. I don't know how they do it, And so I started questioning everything I'd been told by the internet marketing industry about how to reach success. Was it really about being one funnel away? Or was it really about some secret Facebook ad algorithm? Were the tactics and the tools truly the thing that made the difference? And after spending years working with some of the best coaches in the industry, I realized that it's not about any of that. I discovered what really made high producers the high producers of their industry. I learned what really allows them to generate leads, clients, and money on tap in a sustainable way. I learned what gives them the ability to have the lifestyle they always dreamed of. I found out why their tactics and their strategies work out and their message gets a response, while the majority of experts and entrepreneurs who have amazing skill sets to help a lot of people, why they always seem to be stuck hustling and struggling to experience the freedom, the peace, the power, the profits that their heart is longing for, even after they've been investing thousands and thousands, and some of them tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, and learning the skill sets and building the funnels. And the answer was so simple that even most experts themselves cannot put their finger on it. And I've taken the liberty to call that thing core power. See, this is the intersection of where power and production meet. Some call this being and doing. I found time and time again, it is the deep work that moves the needle in this game of business. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the tactics and the tools are not important, because they are. All I'm saying is just in and of themselves, they are not the entire game. You see, peace, power, and profits isn't found in looking at life in a state of either or. The answers are found in and also. Peace, power, and profits are found when somebody embodies both. The being and the doing, the power and the production. See, true freedom is an art and a science. The being is the art and the production is the science. And when you truly understand this, I've seen it time and time again, it will allow you to make more money while working less, living out your ideal lifestyle, and creating deep connection with those that you love most. And rather making money for the sake of money, you actually experience more fulfillment and happiness. So my goal with this podcast is to bring you both sides of the game. The power and the production, the being and the doing, the coming together of the philosophies of the East and the West. I'm going to be bringing you some amazing experts to share their tactics and their strategies and their philosophies to help you break through to new levels of income and impact. I'm even going to be doing some solo shows to bring you some of my genius and some of my insights into this game as well. I'm always diving deep. I'm always studying and implementing tactics and tools, as well as learning and experimenting with ancient wisdom. And time again, I find that it's the ancient wisdom that always seems to be the thing that helps someone go from good to great. This philosophy of approaching life and business with a holistic approach, it's helped me to break through the six-figure ceiling while working less and traveling the world with my wife and my 1-year-old daughter. It's also allowed me to coach and guide some of Forbes' top social media influencers, along with many amazing high-producing individuals around the globe. It's also allowed me to host my own international events, and it's even helped my clients get incredible results. Like one of the guys, he is able to add $8,000 a month to his coaching business while getting back into jiu-jitsu. I had another client who was able to nearly double his revenue from $240,000 a year to $420,000 a year while not doubling his workload. That was super important for him. Plus, it allowed him to bring his wife home from work and live out his ideal day. And now all he lacks is putting a pool in his backyard, and we're working on that. Another client added over $183,000 a year to her business by learning how to leverage her email list through selling an online course, while building the best team over, reducing stress, and loving her business again, because she was on the edge of burnout and was about to burn that whole thing to ground before we turned it around. Had another client, she landed a legit radio show, like legit old school radio show, and she's now interviewing top experts like Neil Donald Walsh on her show. And I could go on with stories like these. I truly believe this podcast can help you break through to new levels of freedom, purpose, and success, just like many of my clients have experienced. So thank you. Thank you for being here for this first episode. And I hope you enjoy the next episodes that I've actually already released. And I'll tell you right now, they are straight fire. And they will revolutionize your life if you'll listen to them with an open mind and an open heart. I mean, just read their headlines. I'm sure it will stir something deep within your soul. All of my episodes, they are very conversational and story-driven. I really wanted to make it a point to do it that way. And plus, I'm able to pull out and drop some amazing practical and tactical things that you can do to take your life and business to a whole new level of just amazing awesomeness. That's for you, man. I really want that for you. So that's all I got for this first episode. Man, thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing a part of your life with me. If you're vibing with this and you're excited about this show, please share this show with like 5 of your friends. Simply tell them to go to ajamyx.com. That's ajamyx, AMYX.com/podcast to get access to the show. Tell them it will help them unlock a whole new level of peace, power, and profits in their lives. And thanks again for being here. Until next time, my friend, I'm out. Peace.
Well, that's all I've got for this episode of the Anthony John Amyx Podcast, but we have plenty more to help you become unstoppable in life and business. So head on over to ajamyx.com for exclusive resources, information, and tools to help you break through to a new level of freedom, purpose, and success. I look forward to having you back for the next episode. Bye for now.